Greetings everyone, Craig Hester here with R2AWatches.com, and thank you for joining us again as we continue on our journey through all the watches and accessories that are available at R2AWatches.com. If you are watching this on YouTube, be sure and hit like and subscribe and push that Tinkerbell button or bell button or whatever it's called so that you get the early notifications when we post a new video. If you are watching this on Facebook, you're going to want to join the closed group, so you have to ask to join, Vostok Europe Timepieces. Don't let the name fool you. We talk about all the watches that are available at R2AWatches.com on Vostok Europe Timepieces, but it is definitely the place to be if you want to get all the inside scoop about the watches at R2AWatches.com. Today, I am really excited to be talking about the new N1 rockets from Vostok Europe. These have not been out very long at all. They came out late in 2019. So this is definitely still a very new model for Vostok Europe. Now, to be clear, let me do my spiel and back up. For those of you who are not familiar with Vostok Europe is a boutique watch brand that is based in Vilnius, Lithuania. They are 15, 16 years old now. Every watch is 100% designed and hand-assembled in Vilnius, Lithuania. I like to say they start with a blank piece of paper, or more accurately, a blank computer screen, because that's where they do their design work, and they finish with a completed watch. For a watch brand of its size, it is amazing the scope of what Vostok Europe does in terms of the entire production process with the watches. I mean, pretty much short of everything but building the movements. I mean, it's all done there, and they start with design. And anyway, there are videos on YouTube that go into greater detail about what Vostok Europe is, and you should watch those for sure, and we'll put some links with this one. So the N1 rocket, every Vostok Europe has a story. They start with an inspiration. And one of the things that I like about Vostok Europe style in that, and while I'm doing that, I'm just going to kind of rotate through the different styles here so you can see them while I'm talking in general here. One of the things I like that Vostok Europe does is they start with the inspiration and they build the watch around the inspiration, meaning that sometimes companies, and I'm not necessarily saying not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there are companies that, they have an idea for a watch design. They build the design first, and then they come up with a name for it, or then they maybe retrofit. It kind of looks like this. Let's give it this name. Vostok Europe starts with the concept and builds the watch around the concept, and that's one of the things I really like about Vostok Europe. The N1 rocket is actually one of the earliest models from Vostok Europe. They had N1 rockets. I think the first N1 rocket came out within 2 years of when Vostok Europe came to be, maybe even sooner than that. By the way, I want to make sure you know that this blue material you're seeing here on the side of the watch and on the crown, this is protection for shipping. And I didn't want to remove it on all of the watches because it does actually help protect the watch from scratches. So I took it off of this one that's on the bracelet so you can see it without the protective film on there. The N1 rocket was a Russian rocket. It is a Russian rocket, although it's not in use. And its claim to fame is the world's most powerful rocket system. In fact, the first stage of the 5 stages of the 105-meter tall N1 rocket system, which was the rocket system they were building ostensibly, at least to put the idea they were going to put, obviously, a Soviet citizen on the moon, which didn't happen. But the first stage of the 5 stages is still, to today, the single most powerful stage of any rocket ever built. And actually, in terms of like design elements in here, one of the reasons that the bezel on the Vostok Europe N1 rocket has these cuts is that's actually designed to look like the outside cuts that are on one of the stages of the rocket. That's just one of the elements that are incorporated into this one being from the N1 rocket. And you can see on the back, the world's biggest rocket is the way they record it on here. They're actually taller rocket systems in terms of height, but big meaning that it had the biggest, most powerful stage in that first stage. Now, what makes these new and what makes these exciting from the N1 rocket collection? Well, first of all, I'm going to do my little tour to just give you some of the basics about the watch, and then we're going to go into specifically what makes this one what it is and why it's new and why it's exciting. So we are looking at a 46 millimeter case here, a little bit over 46 with the way I'm doing it here. You know, it always varies a little bit when you're using the caliper. It is 17 millimeters thick. So at 46 millimeters, in terms of width of the case, from one side to the other on the case, and 17 millimeters thick, you're not talking about a small watch. Now, by today's standards, I would not call this an oversized watch, but you're certainly not talking about a small watch. I'm going to take this blue one here and put it on my wrist so you can see a wrist shot. I do not have a big wrist, guys. I have about a 7.5-inch wrist, which is by no means a large wrist for a man, but I can wear this watch no problem. I like large watches anyway, so it's not an issue for me, but it wears quite comfortably. I really like the 46 millimeter size. That's actually one of my, probably my personal favorite size. Now, although, of course, sizing in watches also has a great deal to do with how the watch is designed. The other things that you expect from a Vostok Europe are right here in the N1 Rocket in this particular version as well. It has the Gorilla Glass or K1 mineral, in this case a curved anti-reflective K1 mineral crystal. It has the unidirectional rotating bezel, very tight, high quality, 120 click rotating bezel on here. And in fact, to be clear, when you first get it, these bezels are so well made and they hug the side of the case so well. It actually is a little bit challenging at first to get it to move. There's nothing wrong with it. You just got to really, you may have to give it a nice push. Once you get it going a little bit, then you don't have that problem. It's not even a problem. It's actually a reflection of how well it's made because it is very tight. These are 200-meter water resistant. So these are true professional grade dive watches, and everything here except for the bronze, which we'll get to in a minute, is surgical grade stainless steel. Now, what makes this one different than previous N1 rockets is this is the first time that Vostok Europe has used the NE57 movement from Seiko, and that is their power reserve movement. It's not only the first time has it been used in an N1 rocket, it's the first time that Vostok Europe has ever used it. And that is a really, really well-made movement, and in fact, it's unusually interesting looking compared to a lot of the Seiko movements. You know that until you get up to like the Grand Seikos or something, the Seiko's not exactly known for having beautiful decoration on their movement. But with the guilloche that's on the rotor here, and at least a little bit of the brushing that's on the top plates, they went with an exhibition case back on this one so you can actually see the movement from the rear. It is an automatic mechanical timepiece. That means that rotor that you see there on the back, as you wear it, see if I can get it to spin. Yeah, this one doesn't freewheel like some of them, but that rotor will spin and it winds the winding mechanism of the watch as you wear it. The big feature on this N1 rocket and the NE57 movement is the power reserve indicator. Now, what that means, if you look up here at the top of this big half circle that runs all the way across the top of the dial right below the main chapter ring, that is the power reserve indicator. The best way to think about a power reserve indicator is that it is like a gas gauge for the watch. So again, these are mechanical automatic timepieces. By the way, I'm showing the entire collection of the new NE57 N1 rockets here today. I'm not going to have time to go into deep detail about every one of these. We will probably be doing some other videos as well, where I'll maybe do a deeper dive into, say, the bronze or a couple of the different ones. But this was just to give you a quick overview of all of the new N1 rockets. So I interrupted myself. Let's see where I was. I was talking about it being an automatic movement. So for those of you who are not watch people and you're just happened upon this and you're watching this for the first time and you're maybe learning about watches, they are true mechanical movements. It's a jeweled movement. That means it has synthetic ruby jewels in every friction point in the movement. In the case of the NE57, it is a 29 jewel movement. Now, it has a few more jewels than, say, the NH35, which I think is a 24. Is the NH35 24 or 22? 24. 24. The NH35 is a 24. So the additional jewels in this is because this watch has what you would refer to as an additional complication. So when you're talking about mechanical timepieces, okay, ones that have gears, wheels, all of the things that make something mechanical, if it has anything more than just regular timekeeping, the three-hand timekeeping. Anything beyond that is what is called a complication. You've added a complication to the mechanical movement. In fact, even the date alone is considered a complication, and some purists consider the second hand to be a complication in and of itself, because it is something more than just simply timekeeping. Now, if you're talking about quartz, and where you add things on a quartz movement beyond, say, when you add a chronograph beyond just three-hand timekeeping, or some of the other well, I was about to say it, multifunction. On quartz, you call it a function, an additional function that you added, whereas in mechanical world, you call it a complication. So it has the power reserve. Now, let me show you. What you do is you're going to watch this circle I was talking about, and you can see it's got demarcations on there. As I'm winding the watch, you will notice that that fourth hand that has an arrow on the top of it is steadily and clearly moving over, like if I were filling up the gas tank. Well, old school type gas tanks. Obviously now they're all digital, but when they were physical, and then this, so as you get all the way over, this has a 40-hour power reserve, and you'll see the F over there. That means full. Now, there is one very important thing to point out on, and I actually happen to have one that's in that position, so it's good. There's one thing to very much point out. The watch could stop before, okay, let me make this clear. The watch could cease operation. I don't mean it's broken. I mean that the mainspring has fully unwound and there's no more power, no more juice to move the hands. It could fully expel all of its energy, and the arrow hand will not necessarily be at the bottom where the E is to be empty. The reason for that is the way they did this particular one is the NE57 has a 40-hour power reserve. Every mechanical movement made is rated for a length of time that you should have an expectation that they would run a minimum of these hours, meaning if you had it fully wound, you set it down on your desk for 40 hours. When you come back, or 39, you come back in 39 hours, it should still be running. So you get the point. Now, that being said, that amount is an approximation. It's not perfect. And actually what's normally the case is manufacturers tend to actually hedge and understate their power reserve, what will naturally be, as opposed to overstate it. So this one works in such a way. Let me get back to the one where it's down there, but not on empty. Here it is. So in this case, when you get to the section over here where it's a different color, and you're at the 00, see, the 00 is actually where you would be at the end of the 40 hours. So you should look at the additional as like a reserve tank. Okay, if your car happened to have had a reserve tank, or if you want to use another example, it's like when the light comes on, if you're terrible like me about not keeping your car full of gas, and the light comes on to tell you you got only so many miles left. When you get into that area, the different colored area, on some of them it's different colored, on others it's not. But anyway, when you get into that last section, you are now into the reserve tank. So it is very likely actually that the watch would stop before that arrowed hand would get all the way to the E. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to think there's anything wrong with your watch if that happens, because that's actually how it was designed, and that was intentional. The other thing I want to talk about that's new here is the straps. Vostok Europe has moved to, not for every watch, but they've moved to a lot of their watches to vegetable tanned leather that's made in Italy. And these are, oh my gosh, they're so soft, supple, they're beautiful. The color, the deep, rich color from the vegetable tanning process is just phenomenal. I love the contrast stitching. I like that it's different contrast stitching instead of just the standard that everybody does that runs along the edge. So they do have fabulous straps. And then the other thing, this isn't new. This bracelet has been around for a while, but Vostok Europe was able to refine the manufacturing process, and we're able to make these more affordable. So those who have been watching us for years, they know that the bracelet version of the N1 Rocket was quite expensive. And we actually have been able to lower that cost because we've been able to, I say we, Vostok Europe has been able to improve the production process on these and make them less expensive. Why they are not cheap is this has 7 individual links in this bracelet, which is just wow. I mean, what it takes to construct this, and then when you add in so that you get this scintillation of light on the bracelet, when you add in that they have different, either like polished and or matte, different elements on the kidney pieces, they reflect off of each other. Also important to note that there is nothing folded anywhere in this. This bracelet is 4 millimeters thick. The end link is absolutely 100% solid. There's no folded metal in this bracelet. This bracelet is off the hook, guys. It is just phenomenal. If you're a bracelet person, you are going to love the N1 Rocket on a bracelet. So there it is. That is the new N1 Rocket Power Reserve collection from Vostok Europe. There are 6 styles available right now. They are all in stock at r2awatches.com. If anybody cares, my personal favorite is the blue, but although I am a huge fan of bronze, and in the few seconds I have left, I will mention this is the first bronze watch to be produced in the N1 Rocket. We have a lot of videos about bronze watches out there, and I probably will come back and do an individual video about at least the bronze ones here in the N1 Rocket Power Reserve collection. Until next time, I'm Craig Hester here with r2awatches.com, and very proud to be talking about the N1 Rocket, the new Power Reserve N1 Rocket with the NE57 from Vostok Europe. And until next time, keep watching.